On this episode of The People of Manufacturing, we're going to visit Valpak in St. Petersburg, Florida, to explore how a print company is one of the most competitive marketing companies in a digital age. Then we're going to go to St. Petersburg College to show you what a manual milling machine is and how to use it. On the final segment of our show, we're going to take you to the Learning Academy at USF Tampa to start the conversation about autism and manufacturing, to show you the vast possibilities that people on the spectrum can offer you and how much value they add. So let's start the show. Special delivery. Many of you have seen this envelope. It showed up at your house for close to 50 years, but where was this envelope born? You're about to find out on Man vs. Robot. Greg Serio here with The People of Manufacturing, here to speak with Sean Delameister, the production director at Valpak. How are you doing?
Glad to have you here.
So what is Valpak?
Valpak's a direct marketing group, and we deliver about 450 million envelopes a year, all over the United States and Canada, about 22 billion coupons. 22 billion coupons?
Yep. How do you make that many coupons in a year?
Well, we have a high level of automation, and we have great people.
In today's digital age, how is it that a print company was able to be so competitive, let alone massively successful?
Well, I think a key to our success is we have a good brand name that's out there that everybody knows what Valpak is. It's the blue envelope. They know that there's coupons in it that bring them savings.
Yep.
So on top of that, we have a very high level of automation here, which with our processes are very efficient, which keeps our costs very low.
So the job seeker that doesn't know about this opportunity, how would I tell them about this opportunity to say, hey, this $12 an hour could be the key to a long-term career?
Sure. You know, we don't require you to have a ton of previous skills to come in here. We can train you for everything we need you to do. So you can come in at $12 an hour. If you're a person that's engaged, if you can work with people and be motivated, then you can be up to $14, $15 an hour within 2 years.
Now, would you say your culture helped with your employee retention?
I think it does. I think when people are engaged and they know that they can be effective and they can help with the problems that come up out on the floor, I think that it keeps people engaged and it makes work not boring.
What's the average tenure of someone that works here?
Depending on the shift, you may anywhere from about 7 to 10 years, but we have many people that have been here 20, 30 years.
Wow. How long have you been with Valpak?
37 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that the beginning, the origin?
No, they've been around about 50 years, but I was pretty young when I got here.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history, like the big highlights that stand out to you?
I can tell you, when I started in '84, we were still hand inserting coupons into envelopes.
Wow.
We had paper labeling machines to put the labels on the envelopes. We did the majority of it by hand, and seen it come through different levels of automation throughout the years. But this has been the biggest step. This happened in about 2007.
So when you talk about automation,
if you want to see automation, let's go see it, not talk about it.
I'm in.
All right.
Let's go. How many envelopes do you say that you produce an hour?
We produce about 15 million every week. So
a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
So
and it's about 480 million envelopes a year, and then about 22 billion coupons.
That's incredible.
Yeah, just like your printer at home, we have black, cyan, magenta, and yellow. Those 4 pink colors make up use pixels, and it makes up all the other colors in the system. And to see the shadow boards are set up everywhere with all the stuff.
The pegboard.
Everything you need to have to do your job out here is on that board. If you and I work opposite shifts, I make sure that board's full for you. You make sure it's full for me. That way we don't have to go running somewhere to get something.
You're speaking every one of my languages. I love it.
You don't want to have to somebody to run off to get something they need to do their job. Everything should be there where they need it. This system is built for us. Burgess Industries. They build plate making equipment and stuff, but this was custom.
And just seeing the forethought that went into this, so just a year and a half, 2 years of just to build this, and then you build a building around the actual manufacturing process. Like, that's a manufacturer's dream. Like,
yeah, in our old process, 4 or 5 people on each machine, and they were doing basically, once the envelopes were stuffed, they were manually putting them into a tray, manually picking the tray up, manually building the pallet. We were
wow.
all kinds of repetitive motion injuries, back injuries
Yep.
and strains and stuff like that. We wanted to get rid of all that potential. Plus, we wanted to put quality built right into the process. So all this stuff, all these systems have checks, double checks of the quality of the material as we're going through. And that way we put out a quality product every time. We don't have bad coupons or wrong coupons.
Never do.
Yeah. So we used to have anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 worth of credits that we would issue back to clients because we put the wrong piece in or the color was wrong or something like that. We don't have any of that anymore.
A lot of people are afraid of automation, eliminating jobs, and my argument is that it creates economic mobility. The average wage of somebody before you implemented this process versus the average wage after, is it significant?
The average person in our other facility was probably making, they started out around $8, $9 an hour. Mm-hmm. The average person here starts at $12 an hour. And we have a progressive pay plan, and we pay for skills. So as you learn skills...
Oh, great. No, that's perfect.
To demonstrate those skills, then we give you an increase. You don't have to wait until the end of the year for an increase every year. And then once you get through all your skill blocks, you go into what they call merit eligible. Then you're every year, at the end of the year, you're evaluated for an increase.
No, that's incredible. So you got 50% increase in dollars per hour wages, because someone can live off of $12 an hour a lot faster and easier than $8 an hour.
Yep.
And it's a value-adding job. You're able to invest in training, and it's just an amazing operation you got here, man. What kind of personality traits are you looking for in a person that you think would make a great employee?
So an ideal employee is somebody who's engaged, that wants to be employed and wants to build a career somewhere. We want people who are good problem solvers, that are independent thinkers, people that can engage with the group and work with the group. We're very much a team-driven place here. We like individuals, but everybody's got to be able to work in a group, because when we have a problem here in the facility, first thing we do is we get a bunch of heads together and figure out what we're going to do to get it back up and running, and then we go back and figure out how it happened and how we're going to keep it from happening again. So we really want good, solid people that are good thinkers, that are willing to speak their mind, be engaged with the group. So
value-adding employees.
Yeah.
How does someone find out about looking for a career at Valpak?
They can go on valpakcareers.com, and they click on the BMC, which is the Valpak Manufacturing Center, and it'll show them a listing of all the openings that we have available.
Awesome.
And you can't physically, if you come here and try to put an application in, they won't accept it. Builds the pallets of mail. There's 74 different configurations that the robots can do. You don't have to tell them. It knows based on the job file that comes down to the system, comes down with it, and it just goes to town. We build 2 different pallets at a time. One could be U.S. mail, the other could be Canada mail. So keep it all separate. So Bannock designed that, and then another company did the end of arm piece. The first model didn't have the little fingers on it. They went to move the mail, tray shot out over on the floor, so then they put the fingers on it.
Okay.
So what'd you think?
One word, man. That was incredible.
Cool.
Well, I genuinely can't wait to share the message here, because that is what every manufacturer in America is striving to be.
Thanks.
The efficiency behind it, the success of your entire operation, the engineering behind it. There's purpose behind everything that's done behind that wall. I can't thank you enough for opening your doors for this, and we have this event coming up in November that you're also opening up your doors for. And the purpose of this summit is to drive the awareness of the industry, but also connect employers with potential employees.
Which we're excited about. And we need maintenance people very bad.
Thanks again.
All right, man.
Looking forward to it. If you're interested in sponsoring one of our shows, or you need us to produce a show for you, please contact us at info@tpomfg.com. Greg Serio here with the People of Manufacturing here at St. Petersburg College in the manual machining room. So we're just going to show you the basics of a manual mill today. If you're a student and you're in your math class and you're thinking, why do I need to know about this coordinate planes or graphs or XYZ? The machinist, industrial maintenance, we're going to show you how in your math class you're going to use all of those examples. So whenever you come to a new machine, it could be intimidating, but you have to feel it before you turn it on. Make sure that you are safe, wear your safety glasses, and get used to your machine. So if you know that there's 3 coordinate planes, your X, your Y, and your Z axis, that's all controlled by these different handles and knobs on this machine. So this one, as we crank it, our table lowers and rises. This is our Z axis. So whenever I want to work on my X axis, I walk up to the machine as I'm getting used to it, and just get used to the motions. Make sure you have smooth movement. This one has a power feed that you'll see in a second, but a lot of older machines that usually sit there and wait to be used, unlike production machines that are used daily, you want to make sure that this has the proper oil, lubricant. You want to make sure all your moving parts are moving. So to move our Y-axis is this one, and it'll bring our part closer to us, which is the Y minus, away from us, Y plus. Because of technology change, not only did your machine change, but the tooling that went into that machine. So this tool specifically, in most environments that's manual, because you're using your hands, is going to be using cobalt or high-speed steel, or HSSCO. So what that means is your tool itself is made of steel, tool steel, hardened. So it's really, really hard, but it's a lot more forgiving. So if I were to drop this tool on the ground, it wouldn't break. This is I believe it's a 1-inch high-speed steel end mill. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 flutes, but we're using this one instead of what's called carbide. As you progress in your learning journey in manufacturing, you'll learn about what carbide is. Carbide is another metal, but because of how hard carbide is, if I were to drop a carbide end mill, it would shatter because of the density. So it's the same principle as if you hold an egg from top to bottom and flick the side, or if you just push from top to bottom, it probably won't break. I mean, if you're a He-Man and you squish it, you're going to break your egg, but it's how the metal inside of this is formed, compressed, and molded, and then it's pushed together into this form and then precision ground to that shape. So these shapes determine how we're going to cut our metal. This is an end mill. It doesn't cut with the bottom, it cuts with the periphery, the sides. So whenever you have a drill bit and we're pushing a drill bit into the material, all of your cutting forces are coming to the point of that drill. So on this one, we're using the periphery. So you'll see, getting used to your axes, depending on the direction you go, it's going to throw your trips in a different direction. So these aren't something that you want to squeeze because they're a little bit sharp. This is just aluminum, but you see how it comes with these long stringy chips. If you look at it, I can tell what someone did before me. So whenever I hold this chip up, so you can see that this fits a flute. So it looks like this was a pretty long length of cut. It was probably a square something, but who knows what was going on before, because these chips, it's pretty thin, but usually this machine is used to square a part, which we're going to show you how we're facing off the top, which is the first part of squaring something. Down here in the South, we call this the rock and roll button. Rock and roll. It's important not to touch your Z-axis after this because you want to make sure that you're going to cut the same pass. So I am going to shift our Y-axis just a little bit. So it's going to engage about half the cutter because now we're going to mill it the other direction. Rock and roll. You can tell that we're almost done. We have one more pass that we need to make to get across the whole length of the surface. I usually don't vary the full diameter because I don't have a lot of coolant or air nozzles or a lot of bells and whistles that most machinists have when they're on a manual machine because we're just learning here. So I'm going to make sure that I blow these off, and then we're going to make sure that we're going the right direction because we're switching back. Blooper reel. Now we're going to hit the rock and roll button first. The manual machine is your #1 companion for CNC machining because you can do one-off quick parts that complement your operations while you're machining. So what is a milling machine? Now you know. Here's a test cut to show you the basics of how this works. My man, how you doing?
Pretty good, how about you? Pretty good. Running the milling machine here. Your cut's a little on the rough side, but listen, throw some carbide in there, a little bit of coolant, bump your speeds and feeds up maybe a little. Might have some
what, speeds and feeds?
Oh, that's a whole nother video, isn't it?
That sounds like the next video. If you want to learn more about manual milling machines, I suggest you go to thepeoplemanufacturing.com and learn how you can join an apprenticeship program near you. See you there. If you're interested in sponsoring one of our shows or you need us to produce a show for you, please contact us at info@tpomfg.com. Greg Serio here with the People of Manufacturing here at USF in Tampa, Florida to talk to the Learning Academy about a potential career in manufacturing for people with ASD and to talk about the economic impact that manufacturing has on our communities. Let's go. Blooper reel. Here with Dr. Karen Berkman and Scott Pontesha to talk to you about ASD and what they do for this community. How are you guys doing today?
We're great today. So thankful that you came.
Thankful for the opportunity. So whenever I first was introduced to you guys, it was talking about ASD. I just heard those 3 letters. Mm-hmm. Whenever I heard those first 3 letters and I got to speak with you and Scott first, I was immediately bought in and I had to know more. Mm-hmm. So I really wanted to highlight what you guys do here for your clients, for the community, and talk to you a little bit about the economic impact that it could potentially have on the manufacturing industry. So can you guys explain your roles and what you guys do here?
Sure. I'm the director for the Learning Academy Services, and that means I oversee the entire project here at USF. And Scott is our job developer and employment specialist.
I work with businesses, I work with individuals, we work on customizing, individualizing, make a lot of relationships, attend a lot of job fairs.
I bet.
And really it's when people have a need for a good employee, or maybe they have an initiative that they want to take off on, we're kind of there to help guide them through that, provide consultation, maybe tweak the finer things that they need to do.
What is the mission of the Learning Academy?
Well, the Learning Academy is really set up to first define a career path for individuals on the autism spectrum. So for those folks who have graduated high school and they really don't have a direction yet and they're looking to figure out, what do I do next? Do I go on to college? Do I go on to technical school? Do I go on to employment? What we're trying to do is really prevent people from sitting at home with nothing to do, which is really probably about 80% of people with autism are not employed and could be employed. We really never thought of manufacturing as being an area that people could pursue, but now we have this great opportunity to educate our students here about this opportunity and look into what's available in the various fields around manufacturing. So for sure, we're going to introduce that to our job seekers as an option.
My son is recently diagnosed with high-functioning autism, and he's got severe hearing loss and different types of heart disorders. So as a father, I had to come with the realization that he's probably going to live at home with me until he's late 20s, 30, and beyond. I had to prepare myself for that, and that alone was tough. Mm-hmm. And I'm speaking with other people that are impacted by the same thing. It's like realizing that we're not alone. Sure. There is actually a lot of us, and the more and more we work together to provide these opportunities, that's our goal. Because honestly, we don't know what's going to happen, and we're only just now getting traction. Could you guys expand on what does ASD mean?
Autism spectrum disorder is a neurodevelopmental issue that impacts 1 out of 59 people diagnosed today. So obviously there are quite a few people out there, and to your earlier point, this is going to be the next wave of people coming into employment. And there are going to be a lot of them looking for employment, and hopefully we can change the community in terms of their thinking about employing people so that there are more opportunities for people out there. You're looking at people who have social communication type issues, which could mean just this give and take in a conversation might not flow the same. It could be not understanding certain aspects of language around using metaphors or using language that isn't concrete and clear. And so having to, when you say accommodate, you could sort of change the pattern of how you're communicating in order for that person to better understand you. So I might ask you about some of the jobs in your industry, and then I might say, well, I can pick out something from each one of those jobs that might be a really good match for this person. Is it possible that we can carve a job to meet that person's, special interests and skill set, and take some of those things off of other people so they have more time to do other things that are at their level in their jobs. And so we can, really be very flexible with how we go about doing that matching piece that will benefit an employer, but obviously hire somebody on the spectrum.
One of the success stories we've had in the area of manufacturing. And so we've actually had a business reach out to us previously, and they assemble stoplights all over the city. And they reached out to us because that process of getting temp workers wasn't doing it for them. It's not a fun thing to train and retrain and hire new people and have people there for a few months that end up leaving or that don't show up to work. So they reached out to us and they're like, hey, we don't know a lot about autism, but we really want you to come out, see our space. And it came to that onboarding process, the interview itself. That's where we saw an opportunity for them to change it and make it more successful. And so a traditional, talking back and forth, that wasn't going to work for the guy we had in mind, and that wasn't going to be what his job was. He wasn't going to go there to talk. They got to a point where he was supposed to be putting together, I think, 25 stoplights per day, and he was coming out around 50. And so he got promoted real quick, started to oversee their whole warehouse. So there's definitely some great success stories in the manufacturing world.
I think there's a huge need for manufacturers to understand what it means to be accommodating, how simple it is. Can you explain examples of where it's just been simple? I don't know. Can you?
Sure. Creating videos of the job tasks so that people can learn is a more effective way of doing your training all around. Simple accommodations like allowing someone to wear headphones in the workplace, or allowing someone to take, a break if they get overwhelmed. When we do get someone a new job, that training portion is heavy on the front end, and so you got to get to know the person when they're working there. You might have to make a couple accommodations on that front end, but then long term, there's not a big cost. It's relatively easy, it's simple, and then after you get over that initial hump of maybe they need some training or coaching, things work out really well in the long run.
And these are all things that the Learning Academy helps employers with. We don't expect everybody's just going to know what to do. So our job is to come in and speak with folks and learn their business and help them understand, how simple things can be sometimes and how that ends up being a win-win for everybody. So, the economic impact of that, you were just speaking about that. I think that statistic is very relevant.
I'm big on superheroes and Green Lantern. But I actually got the Green Lantern tattoo for my son. Because in order to be a Green Lantern, you have to have infinite willpower and be fearless. And that kind of defines, Ryan in a nutshell. But it also defines a lot of the other people that I've seen on the spectrum, because as I got to understand who they are, just a lot of times stepping outside, it is a huge accomplishment for them. And then each, what most people might view as something that's rudimentary, or it's actually a huge accomplishment for them. And then they're facing their fears every day. And then they power through it. So for the rest of the world to understand that those tasks, they are daunting for that individual, and the fact that they still powered through makes for an extremely strong individual, because I really truly believe that it is the next wave. It is the fix.
Manufacturing can come into it at a time where it's all brand new. They can get ahead of the game, and they can make it work and get into this kind of when it's strike while the iron's hot, right?
Yeah. No, and one thing that we learned, robotics as a whole is like one of those buzzwords, and then I did quotations again. But the buzzword of robotics, there's not even a SOC code that's designated for a job, robotics. And it's something that's emerging fast, but if you look at, so like in different segments, man versus robot, there's a different version for a person and there's a different version for a robot, but that robot is repetitive processing. And that's where I see, like, as the workforce in manufacturing evolves, I seriously see the biggest opportunity in the industry for people with ASD is through robotics.
I think another area is also quality assurance. Being able to see the details is something people with autism are oftentimes very good at, and may see things that other people aren't seeing in a way that they're not seeing it, and that's an asset that can certainly be tapped into around quality in any company.
If you're a job seeker, manufacturing employer, really just a person in general, and you want to be involved with what's going on here, please visit the website at
learningacademy.fmhi.usf.edu.